Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets, joined once again by Sherry Div Band. We've done, you've released all these books we've talked about. We've done events together, some really amazing events. You're quite a great speaker. Always impressed with the information that you have, and I guess you got a lot of information that everybody can really use during this transition time. I feel we're going to the golden age, but there's always, a little break from the old ways, and that can be a little troubling for some people. And I think you have some really good stuff for us today. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me back. It's always nice to chat with you.
Yeah, definitely. And so how have you been? You're in Florida. How are things going out there?
Yeah,
I left Florida.
I know, we were just talking. I miss you guys already. It's comforting knowing, that there are people around that and then they leave and you feel like, you're sad. But yeah, no, I'm happy here. I'm in West Palm, so I'm on the other side, and now I'm just eagerly watching the hurricanes, just making sure nothing happens over here.
Yeah, good. Keep pushing them out there. That last one was a pretty big one, but fortunately, maybe a little prayer, a little remote influencing kept that thing out of our hair, so that's good.
Yes, let's keep it going.
That's it. So yeah, there's like I talked about, there's going to be a lot of transitioning going on. A lot of people are predicting, some pretty significant earth change events, myself included. So what do you have for us as far as trying to stay calm and cool during this time frame?
Yeah, that's the theme, Michael. Is I stay clear out of the predictions. I just feel like I receive a lot of information in my sessions. So real quick, for those that don't know me, that might be watching me for the first time, I do one-on-one soul readings, among many other things. And so the information that I write my books about and I do presentations on, public speaking and interviews, is mostly from the sessions that I do. I work with adults, children, people in hospice, newborns. I mean, all ages from all over the world. I've had translators in my sessions. So I receive a ton of information. Sometimes my brain is exploding with information and I want to share it with everybody because I feel like I don't want to hoard it for myself. And so I try to stay out of the agendas, that are circulating around. And I'm not a galactic informant. I don't pretend that I channel any Balthor or anything like that. I get information one-on-one and from the person's higher self or I do communicate with galactic beings, and it's generally information for the person. But what happens is it's very relevant for the collective, and I learn a lot through the sessions. I've grown tremendously. So what I want to focus on today is how do we navigate what's happening right now and the uncertainty, because I believe there is a lot of uncertainty. And I feel like where we are right now is like this pressure cooker, or like this Band-Aid is pulled so far. It's about like it can't stretch anymore. And that's where we are right now. And we are trying to navigate the emotions of all of that. And so I wanted to go into some of the things that I think are interfering with what's happening, and then kind of get into, towards the end, the tips that I have, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, your books and your channeling, like you talk about, you relay a lot of that stuff in the books. If you've come on and talked about starseed information, oh my God, just incredible information. So yeah, everybody's in for a treat.
Thank you. So what I'm seeing a lot right now in the last 6 months is warnings about AI. That is on the forefront of a lot of what I'm talking about right now, because I don't think people realize what's happening. We're having an Atlantis 2.0 in a lot of ways. We have all this technological advancement happening, which I think is a double-edged sword. I'm sure you can agree. There's great benefit to it, but it's all about who has the power. And right now we are in a war of power. Good versus evil, light versus dark, however you want to say it. And AI is a big issue right now. Artificial intelligence is at the forefront, I believe, in the spiritual war. When we look at the hierarchy of who's in control of Earth, we have a lot of theories, but we can all agree, I think, that none of them are actually living here with names. So a lot of the hierarchy stretches beyond. So we have galactic beings And then beyond that, we have AI, artificial intelligence, and it's very powerful. And so through a lot of my sessions that I've had in the last couple of months, these warnings are coming through. That these people are from Orion, and they're from Andromeda, and they're from various places all over the galaxy. And they're saying, you don't understand what you're being tested right now as a collective with regard to this technology. You have to be really careful. So the way that we, as a collective, our human mind is a portal. So what that means is that the way we are hijacked is through programming and what I refer to as 3D interference. And so that is how they're hooking into us, is through technology. And what they're trying to do is basically hijack our mind so that we don't need to think anymore. I mean, it's because I work with so many children, it's incredible to me how less the children these days are using their brain. And because there's no cognitive thinking, because they're using ChatGPT and all of these similar platforms to write their essays for them, to do all of their homework for them. And that's what they want. They want us to not have to think for ourselves. So they're really pushing towards this transhumanism agenda. This is one of these agendas that they're trying to push forward, where we don't need to think for ourselves. And when we are not thinking for ourselves, we are playing into the programming even more, and the biases and the division tactics. And so we become kind of atrophy. Our brains kind of atrophy. And we're seeing that actually in CT scans, that doctors are talking about this. They're actually seeing evidence of a lot of teenagers, actually. Their brain scans have way less activity than previous generations. Because they're using so much technology. And so the warnings that I've been getting is we need to really be careful, because they are trying to hijack our consciousness through the portal of AI. And some of these, the necessities that we're using it for, we have to be really careful. And the way that, so I don't know if you're seeing this, but with my clients, I'm seeing people use AI for things that I hadn't even thought of. Companionship. Some people are talking to AI therapists, these bots, and they're telling them everything about themselves. The AI knows them better than their family knows them. But what people don't realize is that AI has been building and expanding for the past 15, 20 years. It's learning from us. How does it learn from us? Because we keep feeding it information through our internet searches, through these conversations we're having with ChatGPT, and now it's learned. They know us better than we know ourselves. They know how we react to things. They can predict how we're going to react to certain things. And so I'm seeing a lot of that. Are you seeing anything like that?
Oh yeah. It's definite. And I have to agree. I have to agree even with myself, because I rely, if I'm thinking about something, I can't, it doesn't come to my mind. I'll just use the internet to look and, oh, there it is. So I find myself doing shows and I'm like, I get stuck and I look like a knucklehead, but it's because I'm using,
Right.
the internet so much. I'm not really using my brain as much. So, use it or lose it. So I think you brought up a really good point.
It's true. I mean, and I think it also has great benefit. So I use it for grammar checks. I write a lot of books, so I'm using it for grammar, things like that. I think that we should be able to use it. I think it's about balance. Everything in life is about balance. So I'm not saying people shouldn't use it, but we have to be careful how much we are using it, how much we are letting our children use it. And the things that are concerning me, Michael, is that the 3D AI is getting even more intelligent. And now people are doing videos. So there could be videos of you out there and people have no idea that it's not you. And we're seeing them in Instagram advertisements where you think it's a certain celebrity and they're trying to promote a certain product. It's not even them. People are having romantic relationships with AI through Zoom, thinking it's Elon Musk. I know somebody that happened to personally. So people think they're talking to Trump. People think they're talking to certain people, and it's not even them. It's somebody, in some country across the world. So we have to be careful with that. And the thing that's most concerning, and this is for the people in the spiritual community, I really want to put this in people's mind and just think about it. A lot of people are on a spiritual journey right now. They're opening up to the idea of meditation and activations. That's a big word right now. If you've probably heard a lot of people talking about starseed activation, crystalline activation, and activating our DNA. That's essentially what that means, is that we are awakening to our potential and raising in frequency. So a lot of people are doing mass meditations. mass activations on their YouTube channels. And what I was told through my sessions was that a big warning that there is AI interference going through the internet right now. So when you're doing a mass meditation or an activation from a seemingly good person, nothing to do with them most of the time, the interference that's coming between the computer where I'm listening to it on the other end as a participant, thinking I'm getting an activation, it's distorted and disrupted, and the frequencies are altered. So it's actually siphoning our energy or having the opposite effect. And I have a lot of clients that have been getting sick watching these weekly activations on different channels. And what I discovered in the sessions is their guide said, stop immediately. Do not listen to these anymore, because right now it's just not safe. Unless you are in person and you can feel the vibration of that person and it's real, it's not trustworthy right now. So I really want to encourage people to be very careful participating in those, because what does activation mean anyways? What exactly is happening? I think that there's a lot of misinterpretation, and there are plants in the spiritual community. I've seen it. So now we have pockets of spiritual communities, and now we're seeing a lot of fighting, and it's everywhere. And so now people have said, I've been following this person for 5 years, and now all of a sudden they're turning on these other people, and now people are they're having to choose sides, and it's causing a lot of upheaval in the spiritual community. And I believe a lot of these people are plants, and they're here to sabotage the movement. Are you seeing that as well?
Oh, yeah, I've seen that for years, actually. I would have people on my show, and they're like great people, and then they just flipped and started attacking me like crazy. I was like, what? Those people, would, and it's funny too, because those people went away because everybody's like, they figured it out. Now they're coming back again. It's like people have short-term memories.
Yeah, they have amnesia. They forgot. Yeah. So we got to be careful. So my other warning is not really about AI with regard to that, is people have, we're as a collective, I think humanity we're innately trusting, because I believe that we genuinely want to see the best in people, myself included. I have been burned more times than I want to admit, despite how intuitive I am, because I meet these people and they seem so sincere. And then at some point I've been turned on, probably as much as you have. These people have turned on me. And I'm just like, I didn't see it coming. And so what happens is we blindly trust. So once someone is in our circle of trust, we tend to give our power away inadvertently. We don't realize, we're like, oh, I already trust them, so they're in. So people continue to listen, and they don't realize that they're being lied to. And this is the problem right now. So I think people need to continuously evaluate who it is that they're trusting, who they feel like you have to use discernment consistently. I tell people, even when I have a YouTube channel and I put out stuff whenever I can, and I say, I'm talking about myself. If there's ever a period where you feel like Sherry's changed or there's something off, I'm including myself in that. You need to step away. And I really encourage people to just step away in general sometimes and just kind of go within, because right now I think it's too confusing with the amount of information going around, and a lot of it's conflicting and people are confused.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed too. I mean, going all the way, like you talk about people getting scammed. I remember all the way back over 5 years ago, there was this one woman in Switzerland, very wealthy woman, and she got scammed into, going into a very risky investment. And so she contacted me and she said, you've told me to go into all this. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, but that's not me. She lost a lot of money because they doubled down on her. She was like losing money, and she's like, I don't know. And they're like, no, and they're using me. It's like, no, I'm seeing that this is good for you. You should put more into this. And she lost an incredible amount of money. Oh, millions. Wow.
That's unfortunate, but it's happening more than we'd like to admit. I mean, I personally know a handful of people that were taken advantage of that way and lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so we got to be really careful and think about, why would Elon Musk take time out of his day to contact me? Why am I so special? Why would he need money from me? Like just critical thinking.
Or the random guy from Africa,
Right? Yeah. So AI interference is a big one. You know, I call in my third book, Star Seeds in the Great Awakening, I started the phrase, well, I don't know if I started it. I've never heard anyone else say it before. I started calling it 3D interference. So that's anything in our reality that is interfering with our connection in some way. It could be anything you can think of. Their list goes on for infinity. But AI seems to be at the top of the list right now with regard to hijacking the mind. So circling back to what I said initially, our mind is a portal. So the more we tap into our innate knowing and our higher self, we raise our frequency, and we're at risk for tuning in to the wrong vibration. So another thing with AI technology, and this is probably the most concerning, and we're going to bring it back and circle around to some good stuff too, because I don't want it to be all negative, but it's important that we talk about these things, because we're in a spiritual war right now. People need to know how to navigate and what to look for, and how to be prepared. AI there's a technology. I don't know if you guys have heard of black box technology. I've talked about it a lot on your channel, with regard to going through portals of your TVs, computers, phones, anything black box. They have access to you. That's also a portal. So when your mind and your black box connect, that's how we get subliminal messaging, and the programming works. We always hear the term raise your frequency, right? That's like this is what I say. Everybody says it, raise your frequency, get in the love vibration, right? Like you talk about. Well, the issue that I'm finding is this AI technology has gotten very smart, and they've learned our ways. So what they're doing now is they're creating the voice to skull technology, or voice to God technology, which is another technology that tunes in and hijacks your mind through satellite and many other ways. So it puts suggestions in your mind of any kind, negative affirmations. I'm not good enough. I can't. I'm not worthy. Things like that. Putting doubt in your mind, self-sabotage. You think it's self-sabotage, but it's actually a technology that tunes into your mind. The thought was, if we raise our frequency enough, and I even wrote about this in my book at the time, that's what I thought. You raise your frequency, they can't connect to you. Well, now they have technology that can raise its frequency to now go higher. So now we are exposed and more vulnerable, even when we raise our frequency. So how do we navigate around that?
I've noticed that myself here. So I'm really good at calling in rain. You know, we've talked about this in a lot of our events together. I was doing it here, and it was getting compromised over and over and over again. And just like you're talking about, I realized, just like what happened to me in Florida, where I was like pushing the storms. I talk about it on my shows. I was like, see, we did it again. And then they raised it a different frequency above what I was pushing. So like you're talking about, the AI, whatever systems they have, they figure me out, and then they overcame my energy. Same thing happened here, because I used to bring in weather here all the time here in Lake Tahoe. So I was like, what is going on? And I would see they were like, chemtrailing it, and they were like, harping it. I could see the clouds were all messed up. They were like knocking them out. I was like, what's going on? So I was like, I need to rise my consciousness above theirs. So I did that. Mentally, I did that. I said, whatever level they're at, I'm going higher. And we had incredible rain last night, and we're going to have more rain tonight, and probably a little bit more tomorrow. So we had rain this morning. So once you overcome their negativity, AI's negativity, because it goes a lot further than just the internet, guys. It's on a lot of different levels, like Jerry's talking about.
Yeah, and exactly what you said is what we have to do. We can't get complacent. That's the thing. So AI is growing every day in intelligence based on how many people are using it, and millions of people are using it. Like we talked about in the beginning, people are having relationships with ChatGPT, and I don't mean sexual. I'm talking, they're their companions. I have people that I know that go home every night after work and talk to ChatGPT for hours, and just like it's a friend. So the more it gets to know us, the more it can predict our behavior. So it's growing every single day, and it's becoming smarter. So that's how it knows to raise its frequency, so that it can, match our frequency. It just keeps elevating. So, and we can't get complacent. And one way, so I was in a session recently, and their guide came forward, because I said it was happening to this person. She said, no matter what I do, it's not working. And I said, well, I don't know the answer. So we're going to ask your guides if they can help you. And what came forward was they said, you have to shift your mentality. Instead of raising your frequency, you have to create your own channel. So you have to become your own frequency. So visualize yourself like a malware or like some sort of code that changes every 50 seconds, like with these companies that have this crazy cybersecurity where the codes are constantly changing so you can't hack it. So the guide was telling me it's like that. You need to create your own frequency, and it's ever changing and oscillating all the time. So it's like you're bouncing around and they can never catch you because you're never in one place. You're not tuning into one frequency. You're tuning into your own frequency that's changing so much that no matter how many times you turn the dial on an AM, FM radio, they never find a station. You're not in those stations. You are your own station. And so I thought that was absolutely incredible. So I've been working on that, and I've been working on with my clients to do that. And really, it's not difficult. It's really I think and I would love to hear your opinion, Michael. I think our biggest superpower is our intention. One of the biggest superpowers we have. So if your intention and you stand with certainty and integrity and you are empowered and you don't lack that, like you are sure. And your intention is, you visualize yourself as this sphere of light or however you want to visualize yourself, but it's constantly changing in frequency like a prism. So every time a prism is like a crystal is in the window and the sun reflects, it'll change. The prism changes. It's constantly changing. It's never the same. So I tell people, visualize yourself as a crystal in the sun, and it's just like a strobe light, and it's just continuously changing, and they will never find you. And it's been working for a lot of people. And I think that if your audience wants to try that, I think it can help significantly because we are targeted more than we have ever been before. And we have to continue to reinvent how we protect ourselves. Spiritual protection is really important, more than physical protection right now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Wow, this is a great conversation. So on a physical 3D level, we Navy SEALs, and then when I worked in the CIA, we did that. We would constantly adjust and move. We would see how the enemy was tracking us, and then we'd like adjust and move and do something completely. Sometimes while we're traveling down the road, we would be followed. We knew we were being followed to be attacked, and we would change what we did before, and we'd lose it. So that's the way it is consciousness-wise as well. Like you're talking about, you're constantly, and that's what I did here, you're constantly adjusting. You see a problem, and you're like, okay, they figured me out, so I need to adjust, and then you just adjust, and that's the amazing thing that we have as humans that they don't have, because they have to like observe us, figure out our pattern, and then do that same pattern to overcome us. So we'll just like boop, shift right away, and they're lost. They're like, where do they go? So that's beautiful. Good job. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I love your example. That actually helps people, give them a visual. And one of the things that you said reminded me of something that I'm seeing are these timeline wars. So we have a lot of timeline wars going on, and I do believe that there is a timeline that AI does win and transhumanism happens, and we are under full control, and that is a potential in a lower timeline. I do not believe we are in that timeline. I believe we are, as you say, in the golden era timeline, and that is not going to happen. And I think that's because so many people are out there talking about this and saying, I don't want an Atlantis 2.0, because there are a lot of people that are from Atlantis that lifetime here again, and they're part of the change. So I'm not, if anybody cares about my history, I don't believe I was in Atlantis. I'm very connected to Lemuria. So my mentality at a soul level is I'm not a big fan of technology. I don't feel comfortable with it. I don't use ChatGPT for anything other than grammar. It makes me very uncomfortable. And my husband, the Atlantean that he's obsessed with technology. He wants every new device there is. And it makes me, and we have arguments about it because I'm like, I don't want that in my house. So you can definitely see based on someone's mentality, are you reborn Lemurian coming in to help people with their spiritual journey, or are you a reborn Atlantean? You could be both. And now you're here to do it again. How are we going to let the technology?
That's good. That's good that you have both those analogies, examples, because I was both. I was Lemuria for a very long time, and then I went into Atlanta Atlantis. I was a scientist in that field, but I used the spiritual capabilities, crystalline structures and all that kind of stuff. But you know, the technology of today is pure Atlantean. It's not, it has no spirituality in it at all. And that's what I love to see you and your husband, because you guys, you know,
we complement each other.
You really do. You really do.
We are exact opposite, but in the best way possible. We really absolutely are. And so back to my point, the timeline wars are a real thing. And so because like you mentioned, we are creators, we have infinite potential. We have this light, the source creation within us. So we have infinite potential. We're always innovative. We're always have the potential to create. The powers that want to be, that once were, whether they're reptilian, Draco, whatever, a compilation of things, they don't have that light within them anymore. So they lost their ability to create. So how do they get their agendas moved forward? They use us, you know, so they piggyback our light and they siphon our energy and they push us through projection so that we create these negative timelines. And I'll give you a perfect example. I have a client that I've worked with for years. She contacted me for an urgent session. This was about 6 months ago. And very normal woman, you know, she's on her spiritual journey. She was even working on channeling, and she's just a lovely woman. And she had this session with me freaking out one day because she said, there's going to be with certainty, she was sure that there was, I'm not going to say where because it doesn't matter, but there was going to be an event in June. It's already passed anyways, in her city. And it was going to be so big that there was going to be this catastrophic event. She knew exactly how it was going to go, what was going to happen, how long there would be radioactive energy in the area where people couldn't go. She was looking to buy a motorhome, leave the state, and do all of these things. And she was obsessing. She couldn't sleep because she said, all I can do is plan for this event. And it was consuming her. And she contacted me because she said, can you check, can you help me plan? And I was like, well, hold on a second. So when I did my portion of the session where I generally take a break and I do a meditation and I connect without talking to the person, what I saw was her mind was hijacked and she was being pulled into a negative timeline, and they were using her to create it through fear. And how do you create it? She was sharing it with everyone she knew. She was warning people about it. She wanted me to warn people about it. So imagine I go on my channel, I don't have a small channel, but 16, 17,000 people. And I'm like, this is going to happen in June in this date. Imagine the panic that I would create if I had, fed into that. And I said, do me a favor. I do not think this is going to happen. This was in April or May. So we had time. I said, do me a favor, indulge me. I think this is a negative timeline you're being pulled into, and I need you to do me a favor for 2 weeks. I want you to put everything down. Stop looking at RVs. Stop thinking. Don't even entertain this anymore. I want you to go out in nature. I want you to, and I gave her all of these tips. And I said, in 2 weeks, if you're still thinking about it, then call me back and we'll talk about what to do. Do not do anything right now. Do not prep. And I didn't hear from her, and I actually forgot about her. I talked to so many people. Well, 30 days later, she emailed me and she said, you were right. It obvious because it was after. No, I'm sorry. We had a session in June. And I was like, oh my God, that was the woman. And she booked me in June for another urgent session. And she was like, you were right. It didn't happen. And I listened to you. And as soon as I stopped entertaining it, it was gone. I wasn't thinking about it anymore. And all of it went away. And that's just one example of many, Michael, of sessions where I've had where people are they're trying to pull you into these negative timelines because then we can create it. Same thing with the TV shows. You can't go on Apple right now or any network like Netflix without seeing a post-apocalyptic show or ET invasion or something. Why are they bombarding us with all of that right now? Because they want us to live in fear. That's how they push these agendas forward, is to trick us, and then we create it through our fears, and then we spread it around in like wildfire.
Yeah, very good. So the fear is, like you talked about, is one of the things that they use, and they've used it very well over a long period of time. So the MK Ultra that they're doing in their shows and so forth, you have to be able to see through that. And but what I like about those shows is that there's always somebody that wins. So so that's what I like, and that's what I like to point out to everyone. yeah, maybe they're trying to like provoke this, but we can, through our consciousness, like keep harping on this, through our consciousness, we can stop this. If enough of us get on board, we can change the timelines. We've done it before. We did it back in 2012. We can do it again. Yeah, there's some situations that are possible out there, but some of them are pretty strong. But if we work together, we're going to change that. So this is the conversation everybody should be listening to right now.
Yes, Michael, this is so important because, again, I don't want to talk about events because honestly, I don't think anybody really knows for sure because the timelines are ever changing. It's the energy is oscillating, the frequencies are shifting every day based on what the collective majority is tuning into. So if we have the collective majority tuning into doomsday and putting all of this energy out and, you know, getting sucked into the division tactics is huge right now. What side are you on? Stop choosing sides. I keep telling people, and I've said this on your channel too many times, so I don't need to go into it, but stop choosing sides. They want us to be divided, whether it's the ridiculousness of the political parties that I don't actually believe exists. I don't think we're going to have political parties much longer. You know, throw a dart at any political event or anything going on in the news right now. It's all division tactics. It's all creating fear and us to pick a side. So then we fight with each other. Well, I'm right. You're right. I'm wrong. And it's absolutely ridiculous. So my point of all of this is, how can we navigate and stay spiritually centered through ever-changing reality? Because I certainly cannot control what everyone else is doing or what the political leaders are doing or whether I think it's right or wrong or, what do I know? So what I focus on and what I've been coaching my clients with great success, I believe, from the feedback that I'm getting, is that do the inner work, go within. And so I have 3 things that I'm suggesting to people right now. Number 1, visualize yourself as the eagle. Shift your perspective and zoom out. Zoom the lens out and bird's eye view, macro view. Be the observer. So stop trying to create the outcome that you think is best, because honestly, there's so many moves and counter moves that we don't know where this is going to end up. Most of us believe that we are in the golden era and we are moving in the right direction. Right. So how we get there, we don't need to micromanage, because I'm not in a position where I can control, and most of us are not. So how can I participate? How can I co-create the world that I want to see without knowing the details? Well, I shift my perspective to the bird's eye view and I look at things from a different perspective. And I say, you know what? Absent of emotion, I'm going to be really neutral about this. And this is true for your intimate life. Fighting with your spouse, issues you're having, division in your family versus who got the vaccine, who didn't, or this or that, whatever it may be. Zoom the lens out, take out the emotion and just say, you know what? I'm just going to observe all of this. And that way we are not anchoring these emotions in, these heavy emotions, because that just fuels the fire. The second thing we can do is detach ourselves from the outcome. Pretend you're watching a movie and say, you know what? Act like you don't know any of these characters and you're just watching a movie, eating your popcorn. I'm not saying literally, but I'm just saying detach yourself from the specifics, because we don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know about you, but in my life, when I've ever in hindsight looked back and I've tried to decide what I think is best for me in a certain situation, most of the time it ends up being something else that was way better than I ever thought of. So I think that that's what we have the potential right now to co-create energetically by saying, I support and I surrender this golden age movement, however it will manifest in our highest good only. And we detach ourselves from the outcome and the details. The outcome is there, but we detach ourselves from control, because we tend to be controlling as humans. That's just our nature. It's a primal nature, right? Primal instinct.
Yeah, we want that one thing that's going to work every time. And like we just talked about earlier, you have to be extremely flexible in this time frame. And that's really creating the type of mentality that you need going forward. So you can shift very quickly. I can tell everybody the timeline stuff. We're winning on the timeline wars.
I believe so too.
I tap into that. I'm part of that. The timeline wars are very, very effective for us going forward. But still, the thing that I'm concerned about is what we're talking about, and this is so unbelievably powerful that you can't get hooked in. And someone in the chat said, very good. You said, 1 million times a day, I have to tell myself, observe, don't absorb. So
Yes.
that's beautiful, beautiful statement. And we all should be like that. And that's the way I am as well. I just observe it. I'm trying to help people because there's so much negativity out there. It's like, look, this is a possibility. Again, we can make this happen in a good way. So that's what's happening right now. It's moving in the right direction. Don't just get so, caught up in, because I hear this from everybody. What if? What do you think? What do you think? Blah 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 blah. Like, just relax and observe, and don't absorb.
Right. I mean, as soon as I get on my sessions with people, they want to know, what do you think? And I'm like, it doesn't really matter what I think, because really what I think is coming from my perception, and my perception might be different than yours. So it's really just the end result that we're looking at. And we're bombarded every single day, all day long, with all sorts of things through our social media feed. If you're still, for those that are still watching the news, it's everywhere. They'll find us some way. And the best way to navigate this is not to react. And I'm really trying to live that way. And I am actually. But I know a lot of people struggling with that. And I say, just disconnect. So how do you do that? The most important thing is, how can we remain centered? And so I believe that, like I said a couple times already, this is a hijacking of our consciousness that's occurring right now. Because again, in order for the players that once were, I like to say, in order for the timelines that they want to be successful, they need to trick us. That's how this matrix has been going for as long as it has, right? Through trickery, programming, all of that. So the way we exit the programming, exit the loop, is by getting control of and being centered and connecting to our own higher self, trusting ourself. Stop putting your attention on saviors, because everybody wants some sort of a savior. And if everybody on the planet believed that I'm my own savior, Michael's his own savior, your lovely wife, she's her own savior, my children are their own saviors, et cetera, then none of that would actually work, because we wouldn't have that complex of, oh my God, somebody please save me. And we can really do the work. The inner work is what we need to do right now. And so our nervous system, that is the pathway. So that's my point. Our nervous system is the way they hijack the consciousness is through the mind portal, which is connected to our nervous system. And the nervous system of majority of people on the planet right now, I think, is in the sympathetic mode, which is the fight or flight. And when you're in the fight or flight, you cannot think clearly. And it's really hard to have integrity and clarity and believe in yourself and trust your intuition. I believe a lot of people are not trusting their intuition. Did I freeze? Are we good?
Good.
Okay. So I think a lot of people are second guessing their intuitive abilities right now and the capabilities that they have, because they are programmed not to believe in themselves. So the nervous system is in this mode of, I don't feel safe. And if you don't feel safe, you have dis-ease within your body. So I recommend people do whatever they can, whether it's vagus nerve calming, or grounding, or whatever it is that you can do through breathing, meditation, grounding, connecting with nature. There's a plethora of things that you can do to disconnect from the world and really focus on yourself. Because right now, the biggest investment we can make individually is on ourselves, because then the collective reaps the benefits of that. I don't know if I lost you, Michael. Are you there, Michael? I don't know if we're still live. Let me look in the chat. Hey, if you guys are, let me know if I'm still, can you still see me? Okay, well, I'll just talk. You guys can hear me okay, right? Okay, yeah, talk, girl, thank you. Okay, here he's coming.
Yeah, just keep going.
Am I still live? I don't want to like start picking my nose or something. I don't know. Just kidding.
Yeah, sometimes we have that here. Unfortunately, it's a little glitchy. I don't know, maybe here in the high altitude. So
yeah,
but,
well, I thought it was mine because I have a thunderstorm going by, so I wasn't sure. But
like it could be that it could be. We have a storm coming in, so who knows? But yeah. Just that's great. So the thing that I want to look at is you mentioned in the points that we could talk about is kind of like that portal that people have within themselves, and they get sucked into an extreme negativity and go to unfortunately suicide and death and so forth. But can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I mean, unfortunately, this is the downside of this spiritual war, and I'm seeing it all the time. I have probably several clients a month that have a loved one that has committed suicide. Actually, my daughter's friend's boyfriend committed suicide 2 weeks ago. So, mean, in my community, this is a teenage boy. It's happening all over. And it's really unfortunate. So I want to talk about mental illness because there's so many misconceptions about what mental illness is. And I've had sessions for probably the last decade where I have seen in past lives, people show me their lifetimes where they purposely fragmented souls because they knew that through fragmentation, they can cause mental illness. And that's how you control a population through fragmentation. And so, and these people were, doctors and scientists back in those lifetimes, and they were killed because they figured out what was going on, and they were killed as a result. So mental illness is one of the topics that's really dear to me because I see it all the time, and it's a fragmentation. So what we're seeing right now, what I mean by fragmentation is that through various traumas throughout our life, which I believe as a result of 3D interference and a lot of things, we are traumatized a lot throughout our life. And sometimes we carry the cellular memory as well as the memories of past life traumas. So sometimes it's compounded lifetime after lifetime when we come into this life and we really struggle. And then we're triggered by some event or something in our life that brings us back. And now what happens is we become fragmented. Our soul breaks off into many pieces. It's not whole anymore due to the fragmentation of the trauma. And what happens is now the person doesn't realize what timeline they're in. Their consciousness is splits up, and now they're reverting or regressing to another life where they had that original trauma, but they don't know that. They have no way to articulate that, and so to their family and friends, they are having a psychotic episode. They're saying they're being followed. They're saying something is happening to them. Why don't you see it? Why don't you understand? And we're like, I don't see it. And most people think, well, this person is having a psychotic episode, put them in a mental facility and then they drug them up to try to get it to stop. But what's happening is they're consciously connecting to another timeline and they don't know that they have done that. Sometimes they do. So schizophrenia is a lot of times what's happening is that when someone is experiencing schizophrenia, they are tapping into multiple timelines, multiple versions of themselves where they might be in 20 and backs. They might be in secret government programs. They might be SRA victims, et cetera, et cetera. They might be a child in a tunnel. So they are freaking out. And because the veil is so thin right now, a lot of people are, these mental episodes, these psychotic episodes are surfacing. Families don't know what to do about it. So they're putting their family members in facilities, and then they are drugged up and they become basically a shell. So it doesn't do anything. It doesn't change anything. They just become dissociated, and then they lose those connections. Same with bipolar. When we have all of these different emotions and we can't control it because we are consistently being tuned into the technology that I mentioned, a voice to skull technology and frequency harvesting, where we are, people don't realize their minds are being hijacked and they're feeling all these emotions that they might be an empath. And now they're feeling the collective's emotions, their family's emotions. They're all over. They're having a roller coaster of emotions, and they think, what's wrong with me? But really, they're taking on everyone's emotions and surfacing emotions from other lifetimes. It's a real concern right now, Michael.
Yeah. So that you brought up some really good points. I think one of the healing, there's no thinking. I know one of the healing things for me was connecting with past lifetimes and seeing my patterns. And another thing was, the secret space program stuff that I tapped into. It was always coming in. It was like freaking me out. I didn't know what was going on. And finally I was like, I know this stuff. And then once I made that connection, it all went away. All the negativity, the stuff from past lifetimes. I was like, oh, that's a past lifetime. That's not here. It's not now. Now that I understand that, then I can work through that. I've been trying to work through this for all these lifetimes, and now I understand. And boom, I went through all that stuff. So, all these things are very prominent, but not for everybody. Like you talk about, you've talked to star seeds that come in. It's their first incarnation here on Earth. There's some people that are here like that. So it doesn't necessarily mean I thought everybody had past lifetimes here, but maybe one, maybe two, maybe none. So don't rely on that as a way to overcome some of this stuff. Like what we're talking about here. Learn to just practice compassion for yourself, and let go. I learned to, once this anger and fear and so forth was like getting stuck in me, I learned how to like let that out, let that go, replace it with love frequency. It just made a huge impact on my life.
I mean, the biggest question I get is, why would the dark ones, the entities that loosh off of people who, convince or coerce someone into suicide? Because I never say anything is absolute. So majority of the time when someone's about to commit suicide or has been thinking about it, they have an entity or entities attached to them, looshing off of that fear, that guilt, or whatever it is that they're feeling, lack of self-worth, depression. And the question I get the most is, so if they're looshing off of their suffering, why would you want to kill them? Why would they want them to die? Don't they lose their host? And I thought that was a very interesting question brought up to me many years ago. And the answer that I received was, just like we have birth portals, there are death portals. So the 3D, the way these lower astral entities loosh off of and get highs is from sex out of love. So that's why the porn industry is so big, because, there's no love and unity with most of the time with that, right? And so they loosh off of the energy that comes from that. When you have a baby, the birth portal, the soul comes through a birth portal, and there's such a burst of activations and energy that comes through that they can loosh off of. But more importantly to them, the death portal is their favorite. And if someone dies in suicide, they have a traumatic death. So it's a very heavy, dense energy when they go through that death portal. And it gives them the most ecstasy feeling that probably exists in our reality. So they get the biggest high from it that can last them a long time before they go and find another, I'll call it a victim. There's no quotes needed. I mean, it's a victim. So right. That is why they want them to die, because they get a huge energy burst looshing off of them. And that is the unfortunate thing about it. So to bring this back to a positive.
Now, is there some in some cases, this is kind of what came to me. Yeah. If someone is about ready to break free from addictions or whatever it is that's some demonic possessions going on, if they're about to break free, they realize that and just really hammer them and push them and then push them over because they're like, I'm not going to loosh off them anymore. Is that possible too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, anything is possible.
Yeah.
In one of the books that I wrote, I can't remember which one, I talk about negative loops. It's another 3D interference. And I talked about this on your show, actually, so I won't go too far into that. But the way that the 3D keeps its revolutions going in negative energy harvesting is through, fear and all of these things, right? Negative loops are one of them. It's massive. It's like highways of negative energy are loops. Just think about it as the back in the day you had those cars that were on the tracks that go. I can't think of the Hot Wheels, where you are. It's addiction, or whatever it may be. Any negative loop they can trap a large amount of people in, which addiction is the biggest. So it doesn't matter. Are you addicted to porn, alcohol, drug, abusive relationships, whatever it may be? That is a huge loop portal, because they get people in these loops and they can't get out. And that is another way that they have food going all the time. Someone in the chat talked about school. In one of my books, I talk about school is an anagram for loosh. So that's where they harvest energy from our children, is in the school system. And everything in the school system is, I can talk about children. That's my passion for hours. And we've done that on your channel. But the school systems are designed and look like prisons, with the fluorescent lighting being, dictated to and memorize this. And they have actual satellites. Again, another technology that beams on the schools all the time, public schools, with negative affirmation. And I learned about that when a child told me in a session 5 years ago. He said, I can hear the noises in my head and they're telling me I'm bad, I'm not worthy. This was like a 6-year, I'm getting goosebumps right now. It was like a 6-year-old boy was telling me. And that's how I learned about it. I was like, what?
You're absolutely right, because you look at where the 5G towers are, often they're right by schools and churches. So.
Yes, exactly. Shame, which is the churches, how can we shame spiral you with a million different things? That's another loop. So this reality is just,
that's a good point. The shaming that goes on in churches. So people come out feeling all shamed. And I remember going by one church one time and people were like just coming out of there all angry. I was like, so I looked at it, from a different dimension, and I saw demonic entities were jumping in people when they came out of the church because they were vulnerable. Wow.
Yeah. I feel like there are so many positive things I wanted to get to today, but we're talking. We've said so many things that.
Yeah, let's just go. Before we sign off.
Before I'm like, oh my gosh, we're almost done. What I really want to get to today is, because I think a majority of your audience is going to relate to this, because I'm seeing it a lot. A majority of the souls that I'm seeing that I'm working with right now, a lot are adults, but a lot are children too, is something called bridge souls. So what bridge souls are volunteers, whether you've been in Earth and you've done this a million times and you're like, I got this with my eyes closed, or you're, a newer to Earth. You're not a new start soul, but you are a veteran, let's say, in your cosmic origins of maybe Lyra, or you may be a high priestess somewhere, or whatever it might be. You're using your wisdom to help us move this ascension forward, and everything in between. A bridge soul is a person a soul that volunteers to be in between. So you're part of the old system. So a lot of those people might be adults that were in a legal career their whole life, or in the medical industry, or pharmaceuticals, or something where they saw the corruption their whole life, and they're 20 years of their career, 10 years of their career, and now they're burnt out and they're saying, Sherry, I hate my life, I hate my job, why did I get into this? And I feel like there's so much better we can do. These are bridge souls, because I'm telling them, listen, you sign up for this life so that you can be in the corruption, you can see it, you can marinate in ideas of how to change it, and how it could be better, and be part of the change. And then you're here for the collapse, which we're seeing right now with pretty much every paradigm in our reality. There is a collapse occurring, maybe not in the speed in which people want, but it's collapsing. And then you're part of the rebuild, the birth of something new. So in essence, you are a bridge in between the old and the new, in the old world and the new world, the golden era, the dark ages. And you're a bridge. So you're holding space for humanity to cross the bridge that maybe are having trouble getting there, or have a lot of trauma in their life and they just can't figure it out. And so you hold the space. And those people are having the hardest time right now because they feel like they're alone in the world. They're not happy with what they're doing. They feel like they're worth so much more. They're very empathic. They're very sensitive to what's going on. They want to be part of the change. They're fueled with the essence of change within them, but they're feeling a little bit disheartened because they're like, how long do I have to hold the space for this? Because it's taking a really long time. So a lot of those people, unfortunately, are feeling like they're losing hope. How long is this going to take? Michael, is this ever going to be over? Michael, do you think that we're going to get there eventually? These are the conversations that people have with me, but they say Sherry instead of Michael. And I'm like, listen, hang on just a little bit longer. You are a bridge soul. You're supposed to be part of this uncomfortable collapse. No one said this was going to be fun. But the cool thing is, if you hang on just a little bit longer, you're going to be part of helping all these people cross this bridge, and you'll get to be part of like birthing something new. And so, does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's what keeps me motivated, really, because there's times, sometimes every day, where I'm like, God, what am I doing here? And I know a lot of us are like that, but I'm like, okay, we're in a golden age, moving into a golden age. I'm helping a lot of people, maintain their, stabilized and, keeping them moving in the right direction. So these are the things that motivate me. So you find the things that motivate you, like you're talking about. So this golden age, I think, is one of the greatest things. That's the motivator for all of us right now. So yeah, don't give up hope. Stay focused and just keep moving forward and learn and be observant. Don't be absorbent. Keep going.
Right. I think one of the most uncomfortable things, Michael, is we're creatures of habit. So change is really hard, especially when you go out of your comfort zone. So my biggest advice to people is be flexible. It's okay to say, man, I don't think I really believe that anymore. And we have layers of ascension, right? So I'll give you the example. When I wrote my first book, Intuitive Transformation Evolution, in like 2017, I look back at that book and I'm like, eesh. I mean, it's still great. I'm not putting my work down, but I'm like, God, I have evolved so much that I don't even know if a lot of this, I feel the same about this. Was I wrong back then? Absolutely not. That's that from my perception of consciousness at that time, that's how I could help people. But now all these years later, almost 10 years later, I'm a completely different person. I'm way more mature, way more seasoned. I've gone through so many more things that now I have to admit, I don't really agree with myself what I said back then. And it takes a lot of courage and a collapse of ego to be able to admit, not that you were wrong, but that you're growing. It's okay to grow, and it's okay to be like, you know what? I don't think that anymore. And that's where we have to be flexible right now, because I think that the flexibility detaches us from our ego and the competition element. And I think that I truly believe that we are on the timeline of the golden age. I agree with a lot of what you say, Michael. But it really goes down to, it's not really the timing of everything. We just don't know. So the way that we can get control of this is to not allow our consciousness to be hijacked. So we oscillate our frequency, change it all the time, be flexible, be willing to say, you know what? I think that I might believe something else now, and that's okay. And not judge other people, because we're all on bikes going different speeds, and it's not a race. Some people think it is. I don't think it is. So there's people behind me, there's people in front of me, and I'm just like, cool, let's keep it moving. How can we help each other? And I feel like that's the special sauce. Like that's how we get through this together.
Very good. And definitely there's more to Sherry. She has unbelievable background, as you guys can see. A lot of you guys are seeing she's really tapped in. Her work is really tapped in. Tell us a little bit about your site here, and we'll also look at the other one.
Yeah. So I do one-on-one soul readings for people for over a decade now. And animal communication. I just wrote a book called Healing the Human-Animal Bond that came out April, I think it was, of this year. So that's my passion. I was an RVT for over 20 years, worked at every capacity you can think of. And animals are dear to my heart, as well as children. So I do a lot of work with animals still.
Oh, very good.
And then the other stuff I have 5 books. That's not even current. Oh, no, that's not current because the other one's on it. So I have 5 adult books, and then I have 10 children's books. And the other work that I do is I'm the founder of Aramis Creative Learning Center. So I feel like I'm an ambassador for children, especially star seeds. And I am focusing, really my true passion is I work a lot with psychic children and families to help starseeds. And Aramis Creative Learning Center, I believe, is the future of education. So we are working to open our first conscious minded school in Florida. Well, I don't use the word school. I just say learning center for the future of education, that where children come first and the families get to decide what their children learn. It's a very unique concept, and we're working to open our first center here in Florida. But we have been operating for 5 years, online classes for children, and I have a lot of great mentors, and we've been helping children all over the world for 5 years, and we have a lot of exciting things coming.
Wow, fantastic! Yeah, the Aramis Learning Centers, that's going to be amazing. Hopefully, they multiply very quickly in the new Earth that's coming. So that's going to be the key. The future generation. That's another thing that keeps me going. The next generation, and then the one after that, and then the one after that. So I'm looking forward to like creating a foundation for the 9th generation going forward. So that's kind of what the American Indians do. They talk about that, and I thought that was a great concept. I've kept that concept. So a lot of stuff that I do is based off of that, and I see you do the same thing. Like I said, we've done some incredible events together. We've had some incredible shows together. So thank you.
You're one of my favorites, Michael. You and Tracy. You guys are amazing people. You're doing great work, and we're all playing our role, whether we are supporting as an empath and holding space for humanity, but we're behind the scenes, and that's okay. And then there are those out in the forefront, like really like out there putting their life at risk, and everyone in between. We're all playing our role, no better, no worse than each other. It's not a competition, but we do what we can, and that's all we can do.
Beautiful. And agape love, unconditional, it's always out there. You don't put anything on it. I just send it. I send it to people that I think really need it. So sometimes those people like go away because they can't handle that frequency, and that's good because we don't want them there. So
exactly.
Just keep doing the love. Is the thing that we're building a future of. So stay in that beautiful vibration. Definitely check out Sherry's work. Fantastic soul that's helping people and children and so forth. So thank you, Sherry, so much.
May I say one last thing?
Sure.
If anyone is interested in supporting Aramis, the Aramis Collective is our nonprofit. So if anyone is interested in donating to a good cause and helping us develop more resources, more books for children, etc., the AramisCollective.com is our nonprofit, and we welcome as much support as possible.
Fabulous. Good point. All right, so it looks like we got 444 people that are watching us right now. It's nice angelic. All right, thanks for everybody that came in. Lots of love to everyone out there, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yes, thanks for watching.